kingdom by asking them to take on the roles and responsibilities of ancient Greek people, while not actually having the lives of 10,000 people at stake, right? They get to experiment. Oh no, you lost 40 ships at sea? It's okay, your countrymen do not hate you. It's fine. Okay, so the class. I teach in a block schedule. So I'm going to be teaching this class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then every other Friday for just an hour, and I'll get to that in a little bit. On Tuesdays, it's going to be a flipped classroom experience, so over the weekend, I'm going to give them a certain amount of reading, or homework, or listening to podcasts, watching movies, etc. So they come in on Tuesday with a decent amount of content knowledge. I do not want to be doing what I am doing right now, which is just lecturing, right? I'm happy to facilitate, I'm happy to answer questions, but the content knowledge, the content acquisition happens outside of the classroom. They come in, and then we build it together. I'm thinking that this will probably happen in some sort of like dealing with the timeline, right? We're building the chronology, the cause and effect, we're brainstorming. People are going to come in, I want them to come in with questions. They're going to have small presentations to do. I might assign certain things. And I'll get to the assessment or the actual production in a second. But Tuesday is where they are going to, where it's going to look more like a class, where we're building their content mastery and they're understanding what ancient Greece really looked like and how it operated. On Thursdays, every Thursday is going to be a game day. So we're basically going to take what we learned about on Tuesday and we're going to recreate that. And that's where they get to say, okay, Themistocles did something amazing, I'm going to redo that. Okay, this guy didn't do something amazing, I'm going to, you guys all know who I am. You guys are going to recreate and redo, revise. Hindsight is 20/20. If I know this is coming down the pipeline, if I know the Persians are going to invade, well, we're going to get ready for that. If I know there's going to be a plague, maybe I'm not going to bring everyone into a very confined space so that they can die and perish in huge numbers. Fridays, what I'm thinking, so it's only 1 hour every other week. This is going to be some sort of fun activity. I'm thinking the Olympics, or there's a physical education component that I can get into, but it's going to be kind of a one-off fun thing. All right, so the game. There's going to be two types of simulations. There's going to be the individual role play, and there's going to be the geopolitical simulations. The individual role play is going to look very similar to things that you guys have probably seen in class before. These are going to be debates. They're going to be discussions. They're all going to have a character sheet, which I'll show you towards the end, where they're going to take on an individual character, and they're going to recreate specific events in ancient Greek history. For example, so it begins, the very first class is going to be the Bronze Age collapse. So does anyone know about the Bronze Age collapse? You're smiling. Do you know?
No.
So
I'm thrilled to hear about it.
This is the age of heroes. There's an incredible Bronze Age civilization that bronze is a really difficult metal to produce. It's something that they can do technologically because it's got a much lower melting point than iron, right? But bronze requires what two metals? Copper and tin. Good. Or arsenic. But if you're dealing with arsenic, you're going to die. So you got to do tin. But tin only comes from either a very small amount of it is in Cyprus, good, Mediterranean, or the mountains of Afghanistan. But you're using bronze in the Eastern Mediterranean, and you somehow need stable trade routes all the way to Afghanistan, which creates one of the most globalized, stable societies in history. In 1200 BC, like 1600 to 1200 BC. It's really hard to fathom that an era so long ago was so stable and so sophisticated in their interconnection. However, it all comes crashing down through this connection of climate change, barbarian invaders, the creation of iron, and as you can probably tell, I would nerd out about this forever. But what they're going to be doing, basically in the first class, is we're going to study this Bronze Age class, and the first role-play simulation is going to be this really intense. It's going to begin with me basically chanting the opening of Homer's Iliad, which happens during the Bronze Age collapse. The Greek invaders are essentially these barbarians that in the broader scheme of things, led to the collapse of civilization and the dawning of a 300-year dark age. So it's this weird thing where we think of the Greeks as like, oh, they're the good guys, they're the vanguards of Western civilization. But no, they actually brought down a golden age that had lasted for the previous 400 years. And so the end of it is going to be this twist where, oh my God, you realize you're the bad guys, right? But there's going to be volcanoes exploding, and there's going to be individual role play of them like running through the streets as people are invading, as volcanoes are going crazy, earthquakes, whatever. We've got the establishment of a Spartan regime. So the Spartans waged 2 large wars against their neighbors, the Messenians, and after these wars, they ended up enslaving the entire population. And so, do you guys know anything about the ancient Spartans? What do you know? Tell me what you know.
300.
Yeah. This is Sparta, right? Or like, what?
Yeah, just that they're trained to be warriors.
They're trained to be warriors, right? There's that moment in the 300 where it's like, Spartans, what is your profession? And then they all like chant, right? They're all warriors. How can you have a society that is 100% warriors? Well, if you've enslaved an entire population to do your will. So 7/8 of the entire population of the Spartan-controlled territory were slaves that worked and labored so that the very top elite of Spartans could be professional soldiers, the only professional soldiers in ancient Greece. And so this, it dawns, I'm going to be opening it up with basically a vignette of you're walking through this military camp after this very long campaign. You get to this, you get to this war camp, and a Spartan king stands up and introduces the situation where you have just finally, after 20 years, defeated these Messenians, and what society do you want? You know kind of where Sparta goes. You know the pressures on you, that you have lost tremendous amounts of people, that you're back home, the society is very unequal. You need land to help the middle classes feel better about having just spent 20 years of their lives campaigning for the state. So I'm creating all these pressures on you, on the students, to try to get them to come to the same evil, awful agreement and compact that the Spartans did, which is we are going to enslave a massive population. And the Greeks enslaved many people, but they did not enslave whole populations, and especially not other Greeks. And so I'm trying to set it up so that they're at least going to come to terms with it. Maybe they don't decide to do what Sparta did. Sparta was the only civilization to do this. But I'm trying to get them to at least come to grips with a very evil decision and understand why this decision was made. Similarly, we're doing the creation of Athenian democracy. In both of these cases, you have an incredibly unequal society, and this causes problems militarily. What I really want to drive home is that many political and economic choices are made for necessity, out of military necessity. So does anyone know what the military of ancient Greece looked like?
Depends on the era.
Ancient classical Greece. Anyone know?
Well, during Homeric times. Well, okay, well I guess there's a difference in how things are like portrayed in literature versus reality.
Yes.
But
not Homeric times.
Okay, so like phalanx based.
Yeah, exactly. So a phalanx, do you want to explain?
Oh, I'm not the teacher here,
Great,
so I
okay.
probably shouldn't.
Totally fine. So phalanx are a bunch of hoplites. Hoplite comes from the word hoplon, which is big circular shield. And once again, I'm going to quote 300, which as a teacher, I definitely should not be doing. But it protects not only you, but the person next to you from thigh to neck. If the person next to you dies, they fall, if they run, you're screwed. You need everyone standing locked, shoulder to shoulder, so that you have a solid shield wall and spears, right? And it's less about stabbing the other people, and it's more about working as an interconnected unit. However, if you have this yawning socioeconomic divide with a few very rich people at the top and many very poor people at the bottom, you can't afford a hoplite panoply, okay? Everyone's providing their own weapons and armor, and it's pretty expensive to outfit yourself with a shield a spear, a badass looking ancient Greek helmet, right? Chest plate and greaves.